Welcome back to another episode of the Freedom Train podcast series. I am Joseph Ward, and I want y'all to send some love to my co-host Patrick Irvin. He's a little under the weather, had some medical things he need to get done, so I want y'all to make sure y'all send some love to Patrick so he can get well soon and get back on this podcast with me, because I miss my co-host. So y'all make sure y'all send him some love. Freedom Train podcast series, our website www.freedomtrainradio.com. And remember, we are brought to you by PAX Inc. That's PACTSINC. And PAX Inc. is a Black development organization aimed at developing the Black community to its maximum potential through a focus on education and economics with the traits of hard work, honesty, and integrity. For more information, make sure you visit their website at www.pactsinc.org. A lot of great information on the website. All of our returning listeners and viewers understand that, but our new viewers and listeners, pactsinc.org. When you visit the website, you can view their codes of conduct that they've created, how to become a member of the organization, how to donate, how to get involved with the different initiatives the organization has. And my favorite part is the Learning Center. If you hover your mouse over that Learning Center on the computer or hit the drop-down box on your phone, you'll see a plethora of resources that come up that you can actually use and apply immediately to your life. Practical information. Once again, that's pactsinc.org. And while you're online, make sure you visit our Freedom Train website at www.freedomtrainradio.com. That way you can learn more about myself, Joseph Ward, and the many podcasts that we have. The Fix Sports Podcast, Lessons from the Screen, the Nick Recept Hour, Shelby's World, and the Featured by CJ3. So www.freedomtrainradio.com. All right, so today's show is going to be a good show, and I need you to break out your pen and pad, but also get ready to have some fun. It's not going to be serious. Y'all know how we do. We don't go all serious, but you're going to learn some things in this episode. So I actually was introduced to this couple a while ago, but I forgot I knew their story or knew about them. So I was reintroduced by one of the young ladies who really helps us out behind the scenes, Miss Shakara Jenkins. And I was introduced to this couple in a manner of learning about their relationship, and the word that comes to mind is perseverance. And another word is being able to overcome. They were able to persevere through their ups and downs, overcome the obstacles in their life to still be able to maintain a healthy, loving relationship these days. We're talking about a chef, an author, a seamstress, a dance instructor, multifaceted, very, very talented, and they're bringing all of their stories and all of their information and their joy and their love to our Freedom Train podcast series. So I want to welcome Pastors Robert and Jerilyn Ward to the Freedom Train podcast series. How you doing?
Amen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, no problem. I am. The pleasure is all mine because I get to learn more about you, and because I'm always on the quest to learn more, and I love these interviews because I always get to pick out different things that I can apply to my life. So I'm sure that's going to happen today, and I'm anxious to learn. I'm anxious rather to learn more about you, and I'm sure our audience is as well. So once again, thank you for being here, and let's get into who you are and how did we get here. So the first question is for both of you. Can we get background information on both of you and why it's important from both of your perspectives? Why it's important to have faith as you travel through your journey in life?
Okay.
Good question.
We're going to have ladies first.
All right.
We're kind of going back and forth to this earlier today. So
Right.
We're going to do ladies first.
All right.
So Joseph, I am the oldest of 5 children,
Mm-hmm.
of a single parent home, which, that is not uncommon for
Right.
our African American community. So I'm talking about something common. I was like a pseudo parent because being the oldest of 5, that's a large household for one parent. And so that the older children in our culture always step in. I finished high school, and thank God that even in this single parent household, I was able to go to college. I did 6 years of college. I did 4 years at a community college and received 2 completed degrees, thank God.
Okay.
And those degrees afforded me 30 plus years as an administrative assistant
Okay.
in the corporate world. And towards the end of that, I was able to start teaching in a continuing education program at the last college where I worked, which I'm grateful for that. That led into the segue of where I currently am. So
Okay.
that's my background. And then as far as faith has just been the I can just say the backbone of my life. I'm grateful that my mother took us to church. We started out in Baptist church and then
Mhm.
evolved to Assemblies of God and then to non-denominational. And so those things helped me because faith was what helped me to go to college, because in a single parent home, most of us don't think we're ever going to go to college.
Right.
And so, you know, my prayers were, Lord, how can I go to college? Show me how. What do I need to do? I don't have the money. My mother doesn't have the money. How am I going to go? So faith has just been that backbone of my life, from the little girl being in a, single parent household.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. As for me, I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, Florida,
Okay.
to the parents of my parents, Winton and Nancy Ward. And my dad was a evangelist pastor. My mother was a missionary in the Church of God in Christ. So my background is holiness, with the extra holiness. Um, and my mom had 4 boys. I'm the
Mhm.
second of the 4. We are back to back. I was telling my wife this year we are 55, 56, 57, and 58 years old.
Okay.
Um, uh, I did graduate from high school. Went to Bethune-Cookman College in Daytona Beach.
Okay.
I was there for about 2.5 years. I struggled a lot because not knowing where the finance was coming from, whether or not I was going to have financial aid or anything like that. And besides, my mother was very, very ill at the time. And so going back home, off and on to look after her, then finally going home permanently to look after her, and then watching her was there when she passed away in 1988. Um, so it was a tough time for me. Um, it was a faith walk. I was telling my wife, I don't even really know if I knew anything about faith until we got married. But I guess I did during that time, because I was really believing God that he would heal her, and
Mhm.
that things were going to be all a bed of roses, but it didn't happen that way. So my faith was really tried during those times.
Okay.
So as we go along, I tell you a little bit more.
Yes. 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 Now that's great. And one of the reasons why I asked that is because what I've learned is no matter what path a person decides to take, faith is a common thing that occurs in people's life. And no matter what you're trying to pursue or whatever you are looking for to advance as far as within yourself,
Mhm.
that faith, you have to have some type of faith in either yourself or something outside of yourself to
Mhm.
help you get past the tough times.
Yes,
So I appreciate that.
yes, yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay, so you kind of help tease the segue into the next question, because you mentioned you didn't know if you really understood faith until you two got married. So how did you two meet, and how did that blossom into a marriage?
Well, after my mom died in December 6th of 1988,
Hmm.
I moved to Daytona Beach. That I think was either March or April of the next year, 1990. And I was kind of teed off with God because my mother had passed, and I was living with some friends of mine, and they're just going back and forth to work at the Marriott there. And I finally hooked up with the old classmate of mine from Bethune Cookman, and he and his wife. And I remember going over there one day just to talk, to try to figure some things out. And I remember standing in front of him, and I was yelling, and I was furious, telling him everything that I had told God on my way to drive to Daytona Beach. I told God, don't ever talk to me again, because you took the best thing that ever happened to me. And I was screaming to the loud of my voice, and he was just sitting there smiling. And after we got through talking, he said, let's pray. Mm-hmm. He led me in a prayer back to the Lord. Rededication. And after that, I wasn't going to church anywhere. So he asked if I would come to church with him. I said, well, I'm working on Sundays. But if you have a weekday service, I'll go. He had a weekday service on Wednesday. So that Wednesday, I actually caught a ride with them to go, and I was taking his kids. He had two little kids. Mm-hmm. His kids to children's church. I looked through the window, and there was this little girl in the window. She hates when I say that, but there was this little girl in the window that I saw through the window. She was taking care of the kids in children's church. So after church, I asked them, so who was the young lady that was teaching the kids in children's church? They told me. And I said, well, how old is she? And they told me she was 21. I said, well, that's too young, So I went on about my business. Next thing you know, he started a church in his apartment, and I was there with him and helping him with the ministry. And she and her family came and joined the church. So that's how we met. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll let her say her part.
And then I was really having some struggles, and I needed someone to talk to. And, previously the church that we had been in, where the pastors were and us at the same time, it was really difficult to get to the pastors there. So I scheduled a counseling session with them at their home. And so I took the bus to their home, and they counseled with me. It was wonderful. And the buses stopped running at 7:00 in Daytona, so I had no way home. So guess who had to take me home? Robert had to take me home. And so he took me home, and I was all the way. I was just running my mouth. But I felt such a freedom with him to talk to him. And I'd already talked to him one night after Bible study, and I shared with him things that I never shared with anybody. So there was just something already growing in my heart. But after he took me home, then he found out that I was going away to college. I left him to go to college.
Yeah, I dropped her off at her house, and I was pulling out of the driveway, and I said, boy, that's my wife, ain't it? And I heard the Spirit of God said yes. And I backed out, and I was all happy and everything like that. Hadn't done about anything, was just happy. And next thing I heard, she was going off to college in Orlando. I said, God, you're really funny. You're real funny. So that's how it began to blossom. And then we started writing. She was the first woman to ever write me a 7-page letter. Okay. Back to back on them yellow legal pad papers.
Right.
Front and back. And I told my friend, I said, I ain't never had nobody write me no letter, no 7-page letter. And I said, what do you do? He said, well, just write her back. And I ended up writing about a 4 or 5 page letter back to her. And we just started writing back and forth. And then all of a sudden January, spring of the following year of 91, she came home, and she came home to stay. And I was running errands for my pastor, and she had some things that she needed to do. So we were doing things together of that whole week. And then I think it was the last day of that week. She wanted to go to the lighthouse over in Ponce Inlet. And we went to the lighthouse. She took me over there. We climbed 203 stairs.
Wow.
To the top of the lighthouse.
You had to know something if you're gonna climb 300.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I got to the top. We got to the top of the lighthouse, and I looked over, and the jetty that's in the middle of the ocean, and it was inlet, and I've never seen it before where there was 2 different oceans colliding together, 2 different colors. And I heard the tide has changed. Ask her to marry you. And I didn't do it that at that time, but I called my pastor friends that night, and I said, how do I ask Jerilyn to marry me? And her wife said, oh, I said, she's there, huh? And she said, yeah, let me let you talk to my husband. And I talked to him and asked him, and he gave me all this stuff. Oh, you do this, and you do that. And I said, man, I ain't doing all of that. So that was it. I think the next couple of days, I picked her up for lunch, and this is how I proposed to her. I picked her up for lunch, and she had an hour lunch, and she talked for 45 minutes. And she just talked the last 15 minutes. I said, okay, I just got a question. If someday I ask you to marry me, will you marry me? And she said, yes. I took her back to work, and the rest is history.
Yes. Now that's a good story. That's a good story. Yes. Now that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's always interesting that you never really know where you're going to meet the person that you're going to end up with. You never really know. And so it's always interesting the journey that you're on. And sometimes if you just kind of let go,
yes,
and let God,
yes. Because actually I was seeing somebody else that they were trying to set me up with.
Pastors.
The pastors, and that person kept standing me up every time we and then when Jerilyn and I got together, they were like, wow.
Yeah, that one blindsided them.
Yeah. But then they said, well, that's naturally. That's natural. Okay, so it just happened from that point.
Right. Now that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Okay. So you was able to build a marriage, and then you built a ministry, which is In Spirit and In Truth Ministries, which you all founded in 2011. So could you give us more information about In Spirit and In Truth Ministries? And I'm curious, because reading through your bio, one of the things that stood out to me, one of the tenets is True Servanthood Leadership. So tell us what In Spirit and In Truth Ministries is, and explain True Servanthood Leadership, please.
You want to do In Spirit and Truth? Okay. In Spirit and Truth came while we were operating in ministry. We have been operating in ministry for almost 8.5, 9 years. Before that ministry, more than that. Wow, even more than that, almost 10 years. For that, in and out of ministry, as deacons, elders, ministers, associate pastors, children's church pastors, youth pastors. I was a praise and worship leader, and we were just in ministry doing a lot of things. And I think it was one December 1998, 2008. Yeah, we were down there. We went back home to visit my dad down in Fort Lauderdale, and Christmas night, they had service on Christmas night. And my younger brother, he was down from Georgia, and my dad asked the two of us to minister that night. My younger brother went first, and then I went. And then after the service, I remember my aunt talking to me after the service, and she was saying how it was so incredible that I made Daytona Beach my home and had never been there, but I had lived there for the past 30 years. And then I was talking to my dad, and I heard while I was up there preaching, it's time to come home. And I had vowed that I would never come back to Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
Because there was just issues with my father and myself. And after that service, I told my dad, I said, look, I believe the Lord wants me to come back home. And he said, really? And he said, now you pray. If the Lord tells you to come back home, then you come back home. And we left. We went back to Daytona Beach, and I called him up. I think a week later, I said, Dad, I'm coming home. And we packed up everything. it was the first time that my wife had ever 100% was with me on moving.
Okay.
We moved from Daytona Beach, her hometown, to Fort Lauderdale, and we were at his church. We were elders at his church for almost 2.5 years.
No, a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Yes.
Before I heard the Spirit of God said, now it's time for you to come down here and do what you were told to do.
Yes.
So I told my dad, I said, Dad, it's time for me to do what I got to do. It's time for me to start my church. He happened to be the superintendent over the district that I was in Church God in Christ. And so I just came up under him.
Okay.
And I told my wife, I said, it's time to start, because we didn't know what to call it. We knew it was going to be a family worship center. We just didn't know. And we were just studying one night, I guess it was, and I was studying. And one of our, because our praise and worship leader, she was a dancer, praise dancer. And so we read through the scripture, John the 4th chapter, the 24th verse, when Jesus told the woman at the well, there's going to come a time when those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. I said, Jerilyn, that's the name of the ministry, in spirit and in truth. So that's how it began in what was it, January 2011. And from that, we were in leadership a lot throughout our time in ministry.
Okay.
And we saw so many different types of leadership in things we didn't like and things, not that we didn't like them, but it just wasn't right. So I just wanted to know what it was to be a true leader based on what the Bible says. And I read the scripture where Jesus said, those who want to lead must serve first.
Right.
Okay. He said, I didn't come to be served, but I came to serve. And I said, Jerilyn, that's true servanthood leadership. Yes. And I want to teach people how to be, because leaders, you cannot be a leader if you do not want to serve. Because that's our thing, excuse me. That's our whole purpose, is to serve people, not have people serve us.
Right.
So we were kind of different pastors, because we were always serving people. We weren't looking for anybody to give us a whole bunch of money and different stuff like that. We wanted to serve people and we wanted to serve the community. So that's how it all came about.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I've spent time myself learning what leadership was, true leadership was. I just got through with the leadership training at my job, and that's one of the main tenets of that particular leadership training is, how can you serve?
Wow.
Because because it's also about getting the best out of the people who you are leading. And you have to be in some capacity of servitude to be able to get the best out of people. Because it's like, like in football, we had the term, I will run through a wall for this person.
Yes.
And those are the people that you play for, not just play with. And so translate that to life. Those are the people that you are I'm going to follow you because I know you're going to take me to greatness.
See?
That's it. It's just that simple.
Just that simple.
Yes. So we're definitely on the same page with that.
Yes, sir.
And when you serve people, they understand that you value them. And
yes.
That's another principle of leadership. You must value the people that you're serving. And then they'll do anything. They'll do anything. Like you said, they'll go right to greatness because you value them.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So speaking of greatness and growing and stretching, For Better or For Worse is your book, and that you two co-author. Yeah. And we love authors on this platform. I'm an author myself. My co-host is an author. So we love authors on this platform, especially authors who look like us. Right?
All right now.
Yes.
So, For Better or For Worse, a dramatic testimony of staying married despite having HIV/AIDS. And that is the title of your book. So, So I wanna. This is a 2-part question. The first part is the process that it took to go to create the book, as far as the writing, the publishing, the editing. So what was that process like? But also the story, the you all story behind the book, what the book is based on. Could you take us behind that, and why you chose to base the book off that, your particular story, in that manner?
So the journey started in 2007, Joe. We begin to just see so many things in this journey, you know, because I don't know how many people know, but when you have HIV/AIDS, there's a lot of things that processes that you go to, the doctors, and it's just a lot, you know,
Right.
a lot of people to get you situated. And so after going through, you know, 7 years of that, wow, 2001, 7 years of that, we began to understand that there were things that were not in place to help people navigate that. Okay, because of all the, you know, snafus we were running into. And so we were being told, you should write a book. You should write a book. We were, everywhere we go, we were talking about, telling people you should write a book. So fast forward to 2011, because we really didn't know what to do. People were telling us to write a book, and I've got a whole stack of stuff where we started. And I know every author that's listening understands. 2011 changed the tide. I happened to be working at Broward College in South Florida, and my boss asked me to call somebody. And the lady that I had to call, I read, she helped people self-publish their book. So after I did what I was instructed to do, you know, by my supervisor, I asked her, how does she help people? And then we got connected with her, and then we sat with her several times, and she got us really going. I mean, now we're really writing the book. And then that fell off. And then she got back in contact with us because the Lord impressed upon her to do that. And she assigned us another ghostwriter. Well, we thought we were getting ready to go real good. That ghostwriter passed away.
Yeah.
Wow.
He passed away in December of 2018. And my husband was like, okay, I'm done. Okay, we're not doing any more individual people. I'm going to find a publishing company. Now, initially, my thought was, sweetheart, how we gonna do that? We ain't got the money for that.
Right.
My husband said, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna believe God for the money. And so he did his research. I was at work, he was home, he did the research. He found Christian Faith Publishing. He showed me everything. Basically, he just kind of held my hand. I was just kind of in a blur because I'm like, we don't have money, but I'm gonna follow you. So I followed him, and we connected with them, and the book was published May 7th, 2019. The journey had, 2007, to 2019. That's a long journey. But now that we have it under our belt, it's going to move us into the series, because it's a series. For Better and for Worse is the first in the series. The rest of the series is in sickness and in health, and for richer, for poorer. And so those are not going to take that long, because now we walked through the process. Yes. And Christian Faith Publishing was wonderful. They took us through the rest of the editing, gave kudos to the lady who had already helped us, because she had it, had it in the format and everything, helped us decide on the book cover, gave us our little 1-minute YouTube advertising and video, and here we are. And the second part of your question is, what the book is based on. The book is based on our real life experiences. We have walked through, from finding out that we have HIV/AIDS to up to the point of when the book was published.
Well, let me just qualify something. We found out we had HIV. And the misunderstanding is that when you have HIV, you have AIDS. It's two different things. HIV is the virus, but if you don't take care of what you need to take care of, and your viral load begins to fall below 200, it turns into AIDS, the AIDS virus, and that part is the worst part. I what they call bottomed out. I bottomed out in 2003. I hit bottom, and I was in the hospital for a week, And with the nurse coming to my bedside, and she said to me, "Mr. Ward, you won't leave the hospital. You have full blown AIDS. All your system is shutting down. Your numbers are shutting down. We would try to make you as comfortable as possible. We already told your wife. She's going to take the kids and she's going to go ahead and move to where she wants to move to, and then we have a place for you and people like you with your disease that will help you transition off this planet."
Right.
And I refused to do so. And I was discharged from the hospital 2 days later. A week later, I was knocking on the glass at the doctor's office, and the nurse said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I'm Robert Ward. I'm here for my appointment." And she said, "No." And she closed the glass, and I heard her say, "Robert Ward's here," and the doctor says, "No way," because they were expecting for me to die.
Right.
Yeah. So my wife doesn't want me to tell everything. She wants people to get the book. But
Right.
but it was a time when I knew, you're talking about faith. I knew that my time wasn't up yet.
Exactly.
And that was really the push for this book, because of everything that we had gone through after that, the many times I had been in the hospital, how many times we had to move. We have been almost without nothing. We had nobody, no family. My family didn't want me with them, and her family didn't want her with them. So we went through this journey by ourselves, and it's been an incredible journey. I wouldn't want to wish it on anybody, but we are here today, 20 years later.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's perseverance.
Yes, sir.
So without, especially if this information is in the book, I don't want you to give it all away, because I do want all of our viewers and listeners to go buy the book, and we're gonna give y'all more information on that. But what caused you to bottom out?
What caused me to bottom out was I was working at a restaurant in Camp Creek, Georgia, and it was a brand new restaurant that opened up. And I was working. We had moved to Georgia. And I was working 6 to 7 days, 12, 13 hours a day. And I would come home, take a shower, had time enough just to spend time with my wife and kids, get in bed, have to get back up in the morning and go to work.
Well, we need to go back a little further than that, because when we first found out, the doctor told us that we didn't have to take medication at that time if we didn't want to, if we were going to maintain a healthy lifestyle. He shared with us that a lot of his patients weren't taking the medication if they, took their vitamins and do it. So we opted to do that because we knew, medication, it does affect you in a certain way. And so we were on that track. But by the time we got to Georgia, fast forward to now where he's working too much. And he is, because he's trying to provide for us,
right.
He plays. And so that's where everything started to do.
My brother had to come to the job, and he and some of the other guys at the job had to carry me to the car because everything shut down. Everything shut down. And that's what caused the whole thing. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, even being in the hospital, my dad came to the hospital, and
literally pronounced.
Yeah, literally, the Bible says the wages of sin is death. So that's what he told my brothers. The wages of sin is death. So be prepared to we're gonna bury your brother. And it was tough and it was rough. But God. Yes. That's all I can say, but God. Yes.
Yes. Well, definitely glad you're still here. Definitely, because it's you guys are definitely going to be inspiration and motivation for other people who may be in similar situations, or somebody who may not understand your situation, but they see the fight within you.
Yes,
Because fighting for your own life
Come on.
is something that a lot of people really don't understand,
yes, sir.
and it can come in many different ways.
Mhm.
But to go through it and have obstacles in your way, but still overcome all of that and
Yes,
come out to where you are,
yes,
yeah,
sir.
that's definitely God was with you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. So with all of the experience and knowledge that you have, and I want to start with you, Mr. Ward, what advice, and I want to do it a bit different. So what advice would you give to young ladies, to help these young ladies prevent themselves from transmitting or contracting any STD that they may come in contact with?
We were talking about this question while we were in the room, and as a pastor, it's easy for me to say just abstain from sex.
Mm-hmm.
But we're living in the real world.
Right.
That's plastered on every television show we look at, every we watch, and every movie we watch, and it's we don't know the backgrounds in which people have come out of,
Exactly.
especially our young ladies. We don't know who's been taken advantage of, molested, raped, or what have you, and knowing that and understanding that, my advice to them, because I have two daughters, and my advice to any young lady, if you're not going to abstain from sex, get protection. But let me tell you something: the protection that we use, that they have in today, it does not protect you from HIV virus, because the protection that we use is latex, and the latex is porous, and the HIV virus is smaller than the smallest
That's
microscopic
true.
hole that's in the latex. So no matter what you do, the best thing to do is not have the sex until you get married. But that's easier said than done, especially in our culture. Okay, our culture is a lot different. I mean, um, I watch the young ladies these days, even my daughters. My daughters are 20, 26, 27 years old, and um, I watch and I see everything that's happening, what they have to deal with every single day. Things are not like they were when I'm 56 years old. They're not like they were the way they were when I was their age. Okay, back then there was things that were left for your imagination. You don't have to imagine anything these days. Everything is being shown, everything is being said, everything is being done. Um, if you are a young lady and you want a man to respect you, that's not a way to get respect. Sex is not a way to get respect. Okay? If he respects you and he loves you, he'll put a ring on your finger and sign the paper, say, I'll marry you for the rest of my life. That's just how my stance on it. That's how I feel, because I don't think that we as a society protect our women enough. And I'm glad you asked me that question, because our women are in danger. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know what that man or that partner that you have, that you've decided to lay with, you don't know what their history is. They can tell you something, but it's really not that. Um, I did not get the disease through a homosexual relationship. I got it through a heterosexual relationship, but I did not know what happened with that person, and how that person contracted the disease, and what happened to the person that they contracted it with. Okay, so the thing is, is this. Okay, because the stigma is it's a homosexual disease. No, it's a disease that's killing people, period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Forget about all that other stuff. All right. We're talking about lives, and we're talking about lives. I'm talking about our women's lives, and don't think that you are a mattress to anybody. You are a woman. You are a strong Black woman. Be that strong Black woman that you want people to make you be or see you to be. Okay. Period.
Yes. Appreciate that. So, Miss Ward, what advice would you give to young men to help prevent them from transmitting or contracting any STD?
I'm gonna mirror my husband, because we are pastors. One, my first advice would be abstain, and I know that's again easier said than done, because
That's a cuss word.
because of our culture. Everything in our culture is sexually charged. Everything, from our commercials to even the innuendos in our movies. Everything is charged, and men have sex drives that are so much different from women. And so for men, this is going to be some serious self-discipline when you start talking about abstaining. And then again, if you cannot abstain, because of whatever reason, your background, protect yourself. And as we've already said, even in that, there is still some danger. My husband said it like this before we came. It's like we playing Russian roulette,
Yeah.
you lining up and everybody, taking these 10 paces with this. And so you have to make some determinations about your lifestyle, about what is really important. Is it important for you to satisfy this drive, the sex drive of your life, or for you to live and for you to fulfill your purpose and your destiny and maybe move to having a wife or children? And what are you going to tell your children about what type of person you were before you got married? That you were, Papa Rolling Stone. Everywhere you laid your hat was your home. Okay. What do you want to be your legacy? What do you want to be your story? That's what I would say to the men, because men are patriarchal. We they're covering, they're protecting. So what do you want your story to be? Is what I would say to them. And, make the decision based on that.
Because men are givers, but women are receivers. So you gotta understand that whatever you receive is what you get. Okay, and make sure that you're receiving the right thing in the right time.
Right. Yes. Right. Now that's true. That's definitely true. Being more mindful about who you interact with. I know that's one of the things I had to do for myself. And then I think asking yourself, get into the why of your activities.
Yes.
Like, what's my need to do this?
Yes.
What's my need to do this with this person? What's my need to do this in abundance? All these different things, because it's not easy going on that self journey, that inner journey. It's not cute.
Come on now.
Right. So healing yourself, getting yourself to the place to where you need to be is not fun, but it's necessary, and asking yourself the tough questions.
Wow.
And now the answer as well. Once you get that answer, how do you grow from getting the answer? Because it might not be the answer you're looking for.
Brother.
That's it right there, Joe. That's it.
You just said something powerful. You said heal yourself.
Yes.
A lot of us we're so wounded that we don't know how to heal ourselves.
Yes.
That's why we need people who are strong enough to help us, and that we can go to and talk to and tell the truth. Somebody that's going to tell us the truth. And we need to receive the truth and understand that when truth is being given to us.
Right.
That's powerful what you just said, bro. I'm gonna steal that.
No, that's fine. Because it remind me. Do you all remember the medicine, Father John and the 666?
Yes.
Right. Some of the work. Right. I think I don't get sick to this day because my mom gave us so much of that. Right. It's like, but it's one of the most horrible tasting things that you will ever have, but it's so good for you.
Yes, it is.
So that's a metaphor for life that people got to realize.
That's good.
Yes. So take it. So speaking of tasting, we get to something I like, food. One of my favorite things, food, and the singing chef. Because I got to know about this. Because I like singing, I like dancing, and I like food. But the singing chef. So, can you tell us about your culinary background, like how you became a chef, but also how was the singing chef born as well?
Well, when I was in high school, in the 15 to 16 years old, we had when you went to school half a day, you work half a day.
Okay.
Work release.
Mm-hmm.
And I got this job at a Mexican restaurant in downtown Fort Lauderdale, in the across the street from the hospital.
Okay.
It was called Mexico Grande. It was the coolest restaurant I've never worked in it before, restaurant before, and because my dad was a longshoreman, I never worked out there before.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working out there as a dishwasher, and I remember watching him making the tacos and watching him making the burritos and all the other kind of things, that different dishes that he had was making, and I will hurry up to wash dishes so I can go over and watch him make the dishes, the dishes that he was making. And he asked me one night, he said, you want to learn how to do this? And I said, absolutely. And he said, I tell you what, you find somebody that can do your job, and I'll teach you how to do this one. The next night, I brought my older brother to be the dishwasher, and I became a cook. Okay. Okay. And that's where it all started, really. I went off to school at the Bethune-Cookman. And after I had to leave school, I actually got a job because I was on my own, and I started working at McDonald's. Got up to be a shift manager at McDonald's. I was a shift manager for Burger King at one point, and I wanted something different. I wanted to learn what it was like to be a chef.
Right.
So I started working at this brand new hotel, Marriott Hotel in Boca Raton, Florida, and I got my foot in the door by being a security guard.
Okay.
I did that for about 2 months, and then I got another position that was open as a night auditor. I did that for 2 months, and a position came open in the kitchen, and I ran down to the kitchen, and I told the chef I want to learn this thing, and I was hired the next day.
Okay.
And man, I learned how to use a knife as quick as I knew how to use a knife. I was making fruit platters and fruit mirrors. And I remember the one fruit mirror that I did, that thing was beautiful. If I do say so myself. And I took a cantaloupe and I cut it into two dolphins playing with.
Wow.
And the sous chef, he came over, he said, who did this? And I said, I did. He said, no, you didn't. I said, yes, I did. And he went to the girl who was in charge of the area that I was working at. He said he did it. And he picked the whole thing up and took it over to the chef and showed the chef. And the next night, the next day, he promoted me to garde. I was making desserts and salads for the night shift on the main line. But I wasn't satisfied. I wanted to learn how to do the cook the line. And I started watching the guys how they would fillet a whole salmon. They would fillet a whole salmon, cut the whole salmon, fillet the meat off the bones, and pick the bones off the flesh, and they would learn carve out a long tenderloin filet mignon steak, and I will learn the different temperatures and different things like that. And then when I shifted to Daytona Beach, I got on the line, man, and started working on the line and being a saute, and I learned every single position that I could learn because I was just hungry for it. I knew that the more I learned, the more valuable I was going to be. And it was just one night that I started. We were working, and it was hot. It was about 115 degrees in that kitchen, and we had done about maybe 500 people already.
Wow!
And somebody broke out in song, and it was 8 guys on the line, and before you knew it, in about 5 minutes, you had that whole line singing. And we just break out in whatever under the boardwalk, down by the sea, and we were just singing all kind of songs, And I would go to different other restaurants and started doing that. And one of the ladies that we were going to church with, she came to one of the restaurants and she heard me singing from the back kitchen, and she asked her, who's doing that singing, and she told her it was me. So she started calling me the singing chef.
Okay. Now that's amazing. That's amazing. But so you learn all those different parts of being a chef. So you are skilled from the grill to pastries, like the whole gamut.
Yes. I tell everybody I've learned to do from fast food to 4 to 5-star restaurants. I worked Disney for a few months. I've worked in country clubs, other hotels. I love it. I love it. It's been about 40 plus years that I've been doing this, and what I love to do now more is teach it.
Okay. I
do now.
Okay. Also, what I'm hearing and what my stomach is hearing, I just need to show up for dinner. That's what happened.
You are
Let's tell me what I need to bring, and I'll bring my appetite.
It's lit over here on Sunday afternoons, because that's when I really do my thing. The weekdays they're pretty much on their own, but Sundays,
right?
I create.
Right. Yeah. I can cook. I'm no chef, but I can cook. But I just believe that no matter if you are basic or great, that's a skill that everybody needs to have. Because I know we're in days and times where people can't boil water, but you need to at least be able to cook something for yourself.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So Miss Ward.
Yes, sir.
25 years of experience as a dance instructor. Now I'm a mean two-stepper myself. Like all the different two-step dances, I could two-step. But you are an experienced dance instructor, as well as the founder of Sewing with Lady Ward L.L.C. So how were you able to how did your passion for dance and sewing start? But how were you able to turn those passions into movements, into ministries?
Oh,
okay.
Your turn.
Yeah. All right, so I'll go all the way back. The passion for dance and sewing, I really can say now that they came at the same time, because my mother, with her foresight, again, this single parent home, it's amazing what our single parent mothers can do. But she put me and my sisters in ballet. And so I started ballet in third grade, and my mother would help our dance instructor make our individual dance costumes. And so I used to watch my mother make my dance costumes and make clothes for us at the time. And so I would take the scraps and imitate what she was doing. And I think I was about 10 years old, where it just really just kind of stuck with me. And I would, we didn't have money for a Barbie doll house. So I would take my Dr. Seuss books and make myself a house out of the Dr. Seuss books and make clothes and bedding for my Barbie dolls. That's where the sewing really started back then. And then, as our life progressed, my husband and I, even before we got married, the church we were attending, they were getting ready to open, and they wanted some praise dance, and they found out that I had been in ballet. And so I was their first person to do praise dance. We didn't have any costumes or dance uniforms. And so in order for me to be that first dancer, I had to make the skirt that I could wear, and the belt and the streamer. They wanted me to do a streamer. So I had to make a streamer for us to wear. So these two things have been simultaneously developing since I was 10 years old.
Okay.
And at one point I had put it down because, well, let me back up a little bit. Because even before starting in church, when we were in high school, they had home ec. And so they taught you how to sew in home ec. And I made my first dress. We won't talk about what that looked like then, because then once I got to the skirt, I was better. And then I stopped for a little while after, school. I didn't do anything until, I got married and did it in school. And then fast forward to now, I've been administrative assistant for over 25 years, but sewing has still been in the background, every church, making banners and making flags and all of that. And then I got the opportunity to teach, which just so changed the course of where I am now. To be able to see the light in a student's eyes as they learn that that sewing machine is nothing to be afraid of, but
Right.
a tool in their hand to create. And so here we are, fast forward to today, CEO and founder of Sewing with the Lady Ward, L.L.C, still dancing, still making dance uniforms for other people, but it's a whole lot more now, overlays and more flags and more streamers. And I just love it, having two
Right.
passions mailed together. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right. What fascinates me about sewing is the vision that you have to see the finished product in your head. Like,
Yeah.
that's not how my creativity works. So I'm always fascinated to see how different people express themselves creatively, and
Mhm.
to be able to have that picture in your head, a detailed picture in your head, and to craft it. I'm just so fascinated by that, because just looking at the different articles of clothing that people make, and
Mhm.
just different fashions. Because you tell me this is fall fashion, I don't know none of the difference. I just know I just need to match and not be wrinkled. That's all I
Yes,
know,
there you
right?
go.
But just to be able to see that and then go on to create it exactly how it was in your head, that's so fascinating to me. So
That's good
yes,
stuff.
man.
That's good stuff.
So we're winding down, but facing adversity, but also being able to build something great that you two have together.
Hmm.
You were able to persevere through all of your ups and downs,
Hmm.
but what made you two choose to say this is our marriage? We're going to keep this together. We're going to keep this moving. What was the why that made you all still be here today, rather than just saying, okay, this is too much? Because we're in a day and time where a lot of people, when they face adversity, they want to split. So what made you two, especially uh, within these last 20, 30 years, to say, okay, we have these issues, but we're going to stick together, and we're not just going to stay together, but we're going to thrive together?
One thing, we vowed not to use the D word,
Mm-hmm.
divorce. We would not say it, use it against one another, say it, period. We may have thought it, but we never came out of our mouths, period.
Mm-hmm.
And that night, 20 years ago, when I was getting ready to pack my bags and leave, because I figured, Jerilyn, God will take care of you. I'm the one that screwed up. I sinned. He'll take care of you. He'll heal you. He'll take care of you and the kids. I'm going to go my way, and whatever happens to me happens. And then she came and sat on the side of the bed and said,
No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. That's not what we stood at the altar and agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed to that. Um, and I know that, at the time, uh, it didn't make sense to me what was coming out of my mouth, but um, I'm grateful that that's what came out of my mouth. And I think a part of that, the reason why those words came out, is because of the faith. You asked us earlier on in the interview about our faith, and that was a part of it. My faith was, Lord, I know that this can be better. It can get better. It
Okay.
doesn't look like it right now, but it can.
Right. Right. Now but that's important, especially for me, somebody who's not married. But one of the things I try to do is learn as much as I can from successful couples, from people who enjoy themselves, who like coming home to each other, who like coming home to their families. We get too many examples of negative and toxic relationships. Every time you turn on the TV, couple fighting here, couple fighting there, all over the internet. It's just bad, 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 bad. They make it seem like divorce is just what you're supposed to do. And I know I'm on a personal quest to learn why people stay together, what keeps people together through the ups and downs, because it's not hard meshing two different people together, two different cultures, two different lifestyles, all these things, meshing those things together. But people make it work, and people have been making it work for a long time. So I don't think we just woke up and said, okay, we can't do this anymore. There are factors that led to that. So how can we overcome those factors and get back to creating lasting relationships? So I thank you all for sharing that information.
No problem.
So we're down to our final question, and this is my co-host and I. This is our favorite question. It's usually his question, but I'm doing it today, and I'm gonna do it well. Right. So this is a question we ask everybody, and we get a plethora of answers, and we love the answers that we get. So if you two were the all-powerful rulers of Black America, what would you change, and what would your message to the people be?
You go ahead.
One of the things you hit on it, and I felt like you were stealing my thunder, but one of the things I was talking about was inner healing. We as a culture have really just been, pummeled with so many different things. I mean, I'm not going to even try to go into all the things. We all know what they are. There's a plethora of things for our culture. But one of the things that I would say is that let's work on some inner healing. And then let's stop being hard on things that we don't need to be hard on, beating each other up with. And let's be hard on the things that we need to be hard on. And let's deal with the disunity.
Mm-hmm.
Our communities, our collective communities need that type of healing. I mean, because we've got hammers on some things that we don't need hammers on. And then the things that we need hammers on, we don't have a hammer on.
Right.
And we need some real true examination and self-healing. And so those would be the things that I feel like we will work on, because we can get a whole plethora of conversations and arguments and everything. Mm-hmm. Let's just get down to the bottom line. Inner healing. Let's deal with the disunity and take down the hammer off the things that don't need it and put it on the things that need it.
And I'll mirror that. I would try to change the mindset that we as a culture have permanently etched in our minds about who we have created ourselves to be based on what somebody else says we are.
Right.
And be who we are called to be. Because we did not grow up with a lot of examples of who we were growing up. We don't know. There are things that go back further than Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that go back further than Rosa Parks. There are things that go back further than Malcolm X. There are things that go back to Africa that we don't know about. Mm-hmm. And my thing would say to learn our roots and where we come from, and to build ourselves up based on that. Okay, based on who we really are. I know that Africa is comprised of many different countries, many different dialects, and everything like many different the religions. But one thing still remains, is that we are the best known people on this planet, and that's why so many cultures try to copy us. And I believe if we understood that, if I were king of the Black community, of the Black America, I would enforce the law that you had to realize and examine yourself and come to grips with who you are as a king and who you are as a queen.
Mm-hmm.
And grow up into your purpose.
Yes. Yeah. And see, that's what I love about this question is we've literally been asking this question over 5 years, and 95 to 97% of the time we get different answers.
Wow.
And that just speaks to the vastness of what we have here as Black Americans, but how we all see the different pieces of the puzzle, but how we all ourselves are different pieces of the puzzle. If we put this puzzle together, like you said, we could do some powerful things.
Come on.
So, yes. So I definitely appreciate it. All right. So people listen to this interview, great information that people learn. And they like, all right, I want to get a copy of For Better or For Worse, or I want them on my podcast, I want to interview them, or I just want to learn more. how can people get a copy of your book, and how can people contact you?
You can get a copy of the book, one from the main page of the publisher, Christian Faith Publisher, and of course, Amazon.com, Kindle, Barnes and Nobles, iTunes, any one of those, you can find the book. And to get in contact with us, you can email us. I can, do what you want me to just say the email address.
Yes.
First Lady Ward, FIRST Lady Ward 11 at gmail.com. Just email me and you can get in contact with both of us that way. Mm-hmm. And either you want us to speak or you want more information, we'll be happy to talk with you.
Mm-hmm.
And their information, their contact information will be it's in the description. So make sure you go check it out. Everything's in the description. So I've enjoyed myself. This has been a great conversation. Y'all got to come back. You definitely got to come back. We have to, as you progress, as you do new things, as you grow within your journeys, you definitely have to come back. Have to keep in touch, because this was definitely a great conversation. I definitely enjoyed myself. Like a lot of people don't understand sometimes when they come on to be interviewed that you need to be interesting.
Yeah.
This was definitely great, and I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you being candid and having the courage to tell your story so others can learn from you and be able to grow. And just definitely appreciate everything, and because you didn't have to give up your time, but you did. So thank you. And if there's any way that we can help you along your journey, please let us know.
We will.
No problem.
Well, you're my long-lost cousin, so.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we family. Hey, anybody with last name Ward, especially if you're cool, we family.
Yes, we are.
Yes. So this is how we do it. This is the Freedom Train podcast series. Like I said, it's your first time tuning in. Hope this is not your last. Hope you enjoyed yourself. To all our long-time listeners, we love you and we thank you. www.freedomtrainradio.com. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share from YouTube and all our podcast platforms. Just continue to check us out. I am Joseph Ward, and we will see you guys later.